Good evening, YouTube, and welcome to the Piper Report. So, this is a pretty long article. I'm not going to go over it all just because I'm also sick. I might have strep throat. I don't know. My throat's been hurting really bad last few days, and it hurts to talk, so I want to make this quick. But here's an interesting article, and I kind of want to talk about the whole taxpayer dollars are going to sexual assault settlements in Congress. Mike Cernovich gave BuzzFeed some information. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. I don't know if I'm going to get another YouTube strike or not. But really quickly, I guess I'll go over it. Apparently, in Congress, there's a lot of people being accused of sexual assault. And in order to refrain from going to court over it, the congressmen have been settling outside of court with their sexual assault accusers. And apparently, it appears that they've been using tax funded dollars, your tax dollars, my tax dollars, for these settlements. And Paul Ryan has been complicit in this and the cover up. That is insanely reckless. That is just disgusting. That is not how you should be supporting your constituents. Using our money to essentially bribe those in Congress who are being accused of sexual assault to prevent them from being exposed for the filth that they are. Again, I want to talk about it, but I don't think I'm allowed to, so we'll go to this article instead. NFL banks billions of dollars on the backs of taxpayers and small businesses. The Cincinnati Bengals threatened the unthinkable in 1995. Team owner Mike Brown vowed the team would move to Baltimore unless a new stadium was built. So basically, with this article, sorry, my throat hurts. I don't want to read it all. What this article says is that there's two different arguments for this. Those that think taxpayer dollars for new stadiums is good, and those that think it is bad. Those that think they are good use this argument. NFL teams' pitches are generally the same. Pay for a new stadium because it will create economic growth and jobs that will generate greater tax revenue, assuring the municipality will come out ahead. Each NFL city receives an average economic bump of about $5 billion annually and 110,000 more jobs because of the league, according to a 2011 study. However, Edgeworth Economics, which produced the study, declined to make authors available, and economists are skeptical of the findings. Victor Matheson, a stadium financing analyst at the College of the Holy Cross, said whenever he sees a report by a team or boosters, he always moves a decimal point to the left and divides by 10 to get the actual number. That would bring the NFL's financial impact to about $500 million. And I think that's key there. Ben Carson, I think it was 2013, he did a speech at the National Prayer Breakfast. He was a guest for Obama. Obama was actually there as well. And it was actually one of the greatest speeches I've ever heard. Not just from him, but ever. Like, he touched on a wide variety of topics. And one of the things he was trying to enforce, or was trying to really get his point out about, was that nowadays, we care more about sports than we do about academic institutions. For example, we'll celebrate and we'll praise an athlete a lot more than we praise a young student who, because of his intelligence, his or her intelligence, moves up a grade or two. For instance, if you're 16 and you go to college, you're able to graduate high school earlier, compare with somebody who is 16 and who's so good at sports that they're going to college or they're going to a professional sports team, you'll never hear about the smart student. Instead, all the praise and all the attention will go toward the athlete. And we have to change that dynamic. We have to change that paradigm. Because if we can actually invest in our children, the younger generation, if we can actually create the notion, the perception that being an excellent student is something that is praiseworthy. Actually sitting at home and studying, doing your homework automatically, don't slack off. Actually trying to be as smart as you can. If we can change that perception so that people, instead of praising athletes or young kids who are going to be professional athletes, if we can change that perception so they look at those children as geniuses, that will go a long way. Just think about it. If all of a sudden, if everyone viewed smart students like they view great athletes, imagine just the whole positive dynamic that would change. The positive outlook would try to not really persuade people. It persuade younger children to actually study harder, to gain that recognition, to do what they can in school, to learn as much as they can. And that's a very, very good way to start things. And I bring that up because when Ben Carson said that, it kind of does tie into all this. Like, we're using taxpayer money to fund professional sports. We shouldn't. That should not be in the tax code at all. There are plenty of donors and charities and rich people who love football. They can afford their stadiums. Likewise, it appears that when a new team gets a new stadium, the loan they take out for it is still being paid off by the time they want to create a new stadium or even renovate the stadium. Before you make a new stadium using taxpayer dollars, you should pay off the previous stadium that you used, that you created, that you built using taxpayer dollars. That's important. Two University of Baltimore professors studied the economic impact of sports strikes on cities with professional teams. The study found that residents' per capita income did not drop during the 1982 and 1987 NFL work stoppages. The reasons, economists say, is that the stadiums do not increase spending. Instead, the stadium merely siphons money that would have been spent on other forms of entertainment in that city, such as restaurant, dining, or theater shows. That's exactly right. This comes back to a really, really great book. I recommend anyone who wants to learn about just basic economics, the way economics works. It's called Economics in One Lesson, and I forgot the author, but Economics in One Lesson. And he brings up a wide variety of points, and one of them is this: if you have extra money in your pocket. Now, I did a video on tariffs, and I used some of the arguments in that book regarding tariffs, but I was with Stadium. If you have nothing to spend your money on, say like all of a sudden there was no sports team, instead of going to a game, you're going to use that money for other things. You may go buy new shoes, you may go buy new clothes, you may go out to a restaurant, you may go to an amusement park. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And I kind of use that argument for the idea of a tariff, that without a tariff, you have extra money in your pocket to go spend on other consumer products. I won't get into the whole tariff issue here because I did a couple videos on it, a couple video monologues that were like, I think 5 minutes long each. So if you want to check those out, I'll put the link in the description to those. But I think this is key here. We should not acquiesce, we being the American people. Our taxes should not be forced, should not be taken away from us and given to athletes. I'd rather say we spent $100 million of tax dollars for a new football stadium. That's probably really light, but let's just say for the sake of argument. I would rather have that money go into education to kids, or go into more public works, go into investing in infrastructure. I mean, there are so many other avenues we could explore with that money instead of giving it to a professional football team or a professional basketball team. And that comes back to that main premise of the video, is that the perception is that we have to praise our athletes. Our professional athletes must be treated like they're on a pedestal, and we have to acquiesce and placate their every desire. And if they don't like playing in the freezing cold, let's build them a new stadium, a new indoor stadium using tax dollars. We have to get away from that mentality. We have to start focusing on young children, get them wanting to be intelligent, showing them the ways that, you know what, if you study hard in school, you will not be in the middle class. You will be above the middle class. You will not be in poverty. Start from the basics. Teach them that welfare is not some place that you want to be. You do not want to settle. You want to be praised for your hard work. All hard work, not just athletes, but also mental agility, mental hard work. You do that, your life will be better. But a good way to start that is that no longer should we spend taxes on professional organizations, sports, professional sport organizations. I watch football too. It's not like I'm anti-sport. I watch football, and I played soccer my whole life, so I'll be watching the World Cup. But it's unrealistic to, it's funny. It's kind of not. It's interesting and funny that we care more about NFL players and their stadiums that they play in over the millions of people that are in poverty right now, over the millions of children who are not getting a proper education. We shouldn't. We shouldn't. We should try to build ourselves from the bottom up. And we have to start by removing taxes, funding professional sports teams, and funding stadiums that they play in. Get that out of the tax code. It should not be in there. And I'm done. Oh, wait. I'll put the link to this in the description, as well as my couple tariff videos. If you haven't seen those, be sure to check them out. I think you will like them, but yeah. Let me know what you think in the comment section about this. Do you think this is a good idea, or do you think that taxpayers should fund football stadiums? Do you think taxpayers should be funding sports teams? And do you think that we should be praising athletes and ignoring intelligent students? Let me know what you think. And I'm done.